My cheating wife left me for other man after I lost my job due to a serious illness. Later, AP dumped her. So she came back and thought her tears can win me. I gave her what she deserved. I, 47 male, have been going through an emotional turmoil in my life recently. My wife turned against me and started seeing another man after she got to know that I'm suffering from a terminal illness. It all started around a year back. I collapsed in my office and was rushed to the ER. A series of tedious medical tests were concluded, and later I was diagnosed with a serious illness. It was a liver infection, but if it was left untreated, it might turn terminal for me. My wife was out of town attending her friend's wedding at the time. I didn't tell her about this over the call because I didn't want to freak out. When she came back and found me pale and illness, I had to tell her everything. She was shocked, but I didn't get the warmth I was expecting from her after knowing about such severe illness. I won't say she was cold, but I felt she was more disappointed rather than sad or upset. I felt like the disease was due to my mistake or something. Anyways, I focused on my healing and remained positive. It was becoming difficult for me to juggle my work and my health. I was advised to major lifestyle change in my diet and exercise. With this new routine, it was difficult for me to work efficiently at work, yet I tried my best to balance them. Meanwhile, I found my wife drifting away from me. She was known as close as she used to be. Whenever I wanted to be empty with her, she would ask me to rest or would say that she was tired. It was bothering me and I confronted her. She said she was just stressed out because of my illness. But I highly doubted that because out of concern you don't push away the person, and she was doing that. To distract myself from all this stress, I got indulged at work. I got so busy that I missed following my diet routine, and sometimes I even missed taking my medicines. Obviously, that had to come back and bite me, and it did. I again fell severely sick and had to be rushed to the hospital. This time my wife saw everything I had been going through. She took good care of me. I had to be hospitalized for a week this time, and the doctor told me clearly that I have to take my health seriously, else the situation would run out of control. I was advised to take a leave from work and rest because work was making things worse for me. Taking a leave from work was just not possible for me. Actually, you see, I don't work for any random corporate or so. The company I work for is one of my close friends. He had started it during college. He asked me to join at that time, but I wasn't sure if it would fly. So I took a job instead. But some 5 or 6 years later, when his company solidified, he offered me a senior position with good pay. I joined. Since then, I have considered that company to be mine, and I personally take responsibility for its growth. I take care of a crucial vertical of the business. I rested for a few days and then again got back on my feet for work. One day I was discussing my report with the doctor over a call, and my friend, company's founder and CEO, overheard it. He was so mad at me for not telling him about my health and working overtime for the company. He insisted that I take a sabbatical and rest until I heal completely. I told him about my condition and that I may not be able to join work ever again, so I want to work as many months, years as possible and secure my family's future. I had not discussed this with anyone, not even my wife, but I was not having a very good feeling about my health. I feel it's going downhill, so in this case, I just want to acquire as much money as I can so that my wife can lead a decent life. I got emotional discussing this with my friend, and he assured me that God forbids if anything happens to me, he would take care of my family's finances. That was a huge assurance for me, but I didn't want to burden him, but he insisted that I take a sabbatical from work without a pay cut for 6 months, and if I really wondered, I could work sometimes from home. I went home and told my wife that I won't be going back to work the next day. Before I could tell her the entire stuff, she asked me if I was fired. I gave her a sarcastic look and said, yes, because of my deteriorating health condition. I wanted to lighten the situation by pulling up this prank. Her first reaction to this was, "Are you dying?" That broke my heart. How could she be so insensitive? But I played along and said, yes. She was like, "How long?" I said, "I don't know. The doctor said maybe 6, 7 months or sooner." I thought she would break into tears and all that, and I would crack up, but her reaction was very cold. She was like, "How would I manage my finances? You don't have enough savings to cover for me. That's why I've been telling you to leave your friend's company and take a job overseas that pays better. We could have acquired enough wealth by now for me to lead a decent life." The bottom line is, she wasn't bothered that I was dying. She was worried that I was dying poor and not leaving anything for her. I wanted to pass up her and tell her about the equity I own in the company, which would help her lead a good life if anything happens to me. But I held back. I wanted to see what she would do next. I think I didn't mention that I was given some substantial equity in the company when we were able to reach our first biggest milestone. The amount in today's time is close to 1.1 million, and it is going to explode further as the company grows, which I'm sure it would. Since then, my married life has come to a standstill. All conversations have become just transactional. She doesn't even ask about my health. I see her leaving home in the morning and coming late in the evening and mostly eating out. By the way, she doesn't have a full-time job. She works at a salon as a nail artist during peak seasons. All this was disturbing me, but I focused on my health instead. Then last month, she came and asked me when we were getting divorced. My world crushed. Divorce is the last thing I want to deal with in this health condition. I was lost for words. She said there's nothing to be shocked about. She has to move on, and it's better that she starts distancing herself from me. I sarcastically asked her if she has already found my replacement. She nodded and said yes. It was a guy she had known for some time, but now she has started seeing him as a potential partner and going on dates with him. I really can't explain the feeling I went through that day. I felt a pit in my stomach. I felt my marriage was a sham. I have discussed this with my friend, and he asked me to remove my wife. Well, I don't want to call her my wife anymore. Let's stick to Jay from all my legal nominees. I had removed her as my legal nominee in the equity and from everything else. Jay doesn't know about the equity thing because I thought of giving her as a surprise at my retirement. The money would have become huge by that time. Gladly, I had not told her. She would have masked her true self for the sake of the money. I had it to add. I have been reading the comments and clarifying from there. I am diagnosed with a serious liver infection, and if I don't take care of myself, it might eventually turn terminal. With God's grace, the doctors are still hopeful of my recovery from this stage, provided I follow what they say. Medication, lifestyle changes, rest, and all that stuff. I was just pulling a prank on my wife by telling her it was terminal to freak her out, and that prank changed everything. Update 1. Hello, everyone. Thank you for all the kind wishes. Yes, you guys were right. I feel glad that I lied to her about my terminal illness and got to know her true colors, or else my whole life would have been a lie. We don't have children. My parents passed away a few years ago. I do have a brother, but we are not that close, so whatever I have would have automatically gone to her. Despite my deteriorating health, I was working so hard over the last 1 year to earn enough money to leave for her, and in return, she did this to me. Initially, I tried ignoring her and focusing on my well-being. I joined a fitness class suggested by my doctor, followed a strict diet, went for runs, and did everything to improve my condition. But I wasn't healing at the pace I should have been. I realized whatever good I was doing for myself was ruined by the mere sight of my wife. I could not stand seeing her getting ready for the dates. She would come home drunk and smudge makeup, and we barely talked. She occasionally used to ask about the divorce or comment on how many days of my life would increase by following the diet. It was obviously very sarcastic and mean comment. Although I pretended that I didn't care about it, but I actually was bothered by it. It was slowing down my healing process, or maybe just worsening it. Before this, I used to have a very boring life. It was just work and family. With family, I mean Jay. Now both of these going out of my life, I had nothing else to do. My friend offered me to move into the rooftop tolling of the office. It's a one-bedroom kind of setup with a small living room where we used to hang out to de-stress ourselves after work. I accepted it because staying at home was choking me. Staying there would keep me distracted. At least I would be able to walk down the office anytime and catch up with my team and colleagues. It's just a week of staying here has made me feel so much better. When I was moving out, Jay asked me if I was moving on permanently. I said until the divorce is settled. She didn't call me after that. Only when the divorce papers reached her, she dropped a voicemail with a thank you note for releasing her fuss free. Our divorce process went smooth because I didn't have anything substantial to fight for. I didn't have anything to add, but she didn't know. The house in which we lived was on a 10-year lease. 8.5 years had already passed. 1.5 years remaining. I agreed to add her name as a tenant, and she could enjoy living there for 1.5 years rent-free. She knew I didn't have enough savings, and I told her that I'm using that to sustain for the rest of my days and my diagnosis. So yeah, everything's settled pretty much. I'm now just focusing on eating right and attending my fitness sessions. I've also started joining some important office calls through my apartment to kill time. My latest diagnosis showed positive movement in my health, and I couldn't be happier. Earlier, I used to have this feeling that I may not live long despite the medication, but now I feel much more positive, and I'm looking forward to a good life. I'll update if anything develops. Update 2. Hello everyone. Thanks for checking on me. It's wonderful catching up with you folks on comments. Like I mentioned in my last update, my divorce was settled and I let my ex-wife live in my house until the lease expired. I was living in the company's rooftop house for a while. After the divorce, I vacated the house. I kept the bare minimum essentials with me and the remaining items shipped to the storage. Yeah, when I went home, I picked up my belongings. Jay's boyfriend had moved in with her. He awkwardly walked towards me and said he was sorry to hear about my terminal illness. I just smiled. He asked how much time I had. I said I don't know, maybe some more months. I was relatively calm on seeing my wife's boyfriend. Maybe I had moved on. I was just secretly happy dumping my freeloader wife on him. Health update. It's much better than before. I feel fitter than ever. I have been a lot more involved in my office work than before. Staying in my office building made everything so much better. I was able to work on my own convenience. Now that my health is stabilized, I'm planning to liquidate a portion of my equity to get my life together. I'm looking for a house to settle in. It's been more than 5 months. I've been living in the office building. Though my friend insists that I can live as long as I want, I don't want to take unnecessary advantage of his kindness. In between all this, I got a text from an unknown number identifying herself as a fair partner's wife. She requested a meeting. I agreed. When I met her, she asked me about my health. She looked somewhat surprised and said I didn't look like I was suffering from a terminal illness. I smiled and asked her what else she knows about me and why she wanted to meet me. She told me that her husband had an affair with Jay for more than 2 years, but they had kept it hidden. After my illness came out and my wife got the house, a fair partner told his wife about the affair, left her and moved into my house. I was perplexed because Jay knew that the house is leased and not owned. Also, she had just put up an act of finding another man because of my illness, but in real, she had been cheating on me way before that. A fair partner's wife was devastated by all this because according to her, Jay had lured her husband into the affair because 2 years back, he got an inheritance money from his father. A fair partner looks quite older than us, maybe in the late 50s, and they have grown-up kids as well. She was okay to reconcile with her husband if Jay left him alone and hence wanted my help. I asked her she was sure about this because a fair partner has been cheating on her for 2 years. She said yes because she didn't want a broken family and they had plans of retiring together, and now she cannot fathom living alone in the retirement age of her life. I'm not judging her at all. It's her choice if she wants to get back with her cheating husband. They were not yet divorced. I dropped the truth about my health, and she was delighted. She congratulated me on my recovery. She asked me about my next plan, and I told her that I was planning to have my own place. That's when I told her that the house that Jay and a fair partner were living in was not owned, but leased for the next 1.5 years. Her eyes lit up with all this information. I understood what she was going to do. She thanked me and laughed. The next morning I woke up with my phone buzzing non-stop from Jay's calls and messages. There were several voice notes that said, "Why did you lie about your health? Why didn't you tell me about your recovery?" She cheated by hiding about the equity thing. It was so funny to hear all those panic messages. She then visited my office. I saw her through the conference room, yet asked the receptionist to let her wait for a couple of hours. I know it sounds evil to say this, but I enjoyed seeing her anxious. The tables have turned. Months ago, I was living my life in the same anxiety and desperation, seeing her getting ready for her dates and coming back home drunk late nights. When she was finally led into my cabin, she stormed inside and shouted at me. The same thing that she said on voicemails, I heard every bit of it. Rather, I enjoyed the rage. I was coming from a place of misery. I smirked at her, asked how long she had been cheating on me. She stood silent. She tried to lie that it was only after my illness. I gave her the look that I knew it all. I asked her to confess everything. Told her I knew she had been seeing a fair partner for 2 years. I asked her if she was with me only for the money. She confessed it was just casual friendship, which meant nothing. It was only after the news of terminal illness that she had slept with a fair partner. I was like, cool, this is what you do when your husband is dying. You sleep with another man. She was still lying. I pestered her to speak the truth. She started crying and pleading to get back together. She said I had no substantial savings, so when she got to know that a fair partner inherited $1 million wealth from his father, she went behind him. But a fair partner was not ready to leave his wife until Jay proved herself to be worth and not a gold digger. So she offered to give the house to a fair partner if he left his wife and married Jay. So yeah, she was planning to deceive him as well, but a fair partner's wife discovered me and dropped the truth pump just at the right time. I smiled and asked her to leave. She requested to meet for dinner. I refused and asked her to leave. She was like, now that everything is sorted, let's get back together and restart our lives. Now I have no complaints from you. She tried to use her tears to get away with her request, but she forgot that she was no longer my wife and that I would give in to all her demands. I asked her to leave, else I would call security on her. I tell you, nothing is more fulfilling than seeing the defeated face of your cheater partner. I will update after settling down with my new life. Update 3. Hey people, I'm feeling so happy to write this update. My latest diagnosis report confirms that I have healed completely. I have lost almost 25 pounds from the time I was diagnosed with liver disease. It had to do a lot with my lifestyle. I was so busy making money for my family, red ex-wife, that I didn't care about my health. And all of it for what? For nothing. She divorced me as soon as she got to know I was dying. The last I updated on this thread was Jay was showing up at my workplace asking for a chance. Actually, what happened was, after meeting with me, a fair partner's wife went straight to a fair partner and told him that Jay was a gold digger and was with him just for the money. Until now, a fair partner was defending Jay because she had let him move into the house. But when he got to know that the house was leased and she would soon be completely dependent on him, he felt betrayed. There were so otherwise Jay had told him to manipulate him into her skirts. She was indeed behind him for his inheritance money, but a fair partner's wife was adamant about not letting net money go to Jay because it was for her children. Eventually, a fair partner's wife was successful in throwing out Jay from a fair partner's life. I don't know what dynamics a fair partner was having with his wife and his family. A fair partner's wife used to be in touch with me earlier and gave me updates, but now we don't talk. I asked her a few times how she could forgive her husband's cheating, but she was reluctant to take personal questions, so I didn't ask her further. Ex-wife tried to all means to reconcile with me. Calls, emails, texts. When it became too much, I blocked her from all platforms. When she got to know I was getting a place for myself, she showed up on my office and sent me flowers and gifts at work. The thing is, she doesn't have a job. The house lease is about to expire in a couple months. I got to know from one of my neighbor's buddies that Jay had rented out one of the rooms of the house to a bachelor for over a year. The rent covers her other expenses. I don't know how else she is surviving without an income. Maybe she's sleeping with other men for other stuff. Anyways, now I believe everything happens for a reason. A good reason. My health is sorted. I have bought a place for myself. It's a small 2-bedroom penthouse, but it is cozy and I have designed it to my taste. I couldn't be happier. A lot of you, even my friends and family, recommended that I start dating again, or at least start meeting women. I'm yet to do that. Some of the office juniors recommend social media platforms, especially for 45-plus age group people who are restarting their lives as 2.0. I've installed it, but not very confident about getting into the modern dating game. People have also cautioned me against scammers on these dating sites, so I'm slightly scared. Just don't want to get into any new mess again. Any tips or suggestions are highly appreciated. Thanks for all the support and advice.